Ladies and gentlemen, football fans of North Central Ohio, you are now entering the Friday Night Pigskin. So get strapped in, lay some tide, and get right for big hits, top plays, and highlights. All coming your way from under the Friday Night Lights. The most exciting sounds and sights, gridiron action to serve your viewing delights. Let's go. Friday Night Lights. Get hype, it's Friday night. Friday Night Lights. Get hype, here we go now. Friday Night Lights. Get hype, it's Friday night. Friday Night Lights. Get hype, here we go now. He's at the 10, the 5, touchdown! Throws it over the middle and he gets absolutely sauced. Friday Night Lights. Get hype, it's Friday night. Friday Night Lights. Get hype, here we go now.
Takes the snap, hands off to
what a
Sloan,
hole.
big hole, right side,
What
cuts
a
back at the
hole.
50, 45, 40, gets a
See ya.
block downfield by McFadden to the 20, the 15, 10, 5,
See
big
ya.
play, touchdown,
Nice
Hillsdale, Owen Sloan, 59 yards, and just like that, the Falcons strike.
The Falcons strike. They are moving on, and we're going to show you who else is now in the Elite Eight. The regional championship week's coming up just a Friday from now as we welcome you inside of the OH Report World Headquarters here in downtown Mansfield, Ohio for week number 13 edition of the Friday Night Pigskin, presented exclusively by our friends over at Spherion Mid-Ohio. And wow, we had some crazy finishes tonight that you're going to see here in just a couple of minutes. Some big-time performances from several area teams as well. The number 1 seed certainly looked like it here tonight, and we have got all the highlights on the way to prove it. Plus, we'll show you who's going to be matching up with an opportunity to move on into the state Final Four next week. I am Brian Skoronsky. I've got Big League Berardi here in the house with me tonight as well. And man, it was a perfect night, right? For some high school football in the playoffs. Like, you couldn't ask for anything better.
Right? I mean, we have the possibility of 5 games next week for regional championships. We have 2 teams of our own that are going to make the Final Four. This is a crazy night here in North Central Ohio for the Friday Night Pigskin and for our teams, and it was just a phenomenal night, a lot of highlights, and let's just get it started, Ski.
Yeah, the Shelby Whippets playing at home tonight, the number 1 seed off the bye. They looked awesome last week in a shutout victory over Orville. Everybody kind of thought the Red Riders would give them a game. Wasn't meant to be. Bath at their place tonight, and boy, Braden DeVito was taking a bath on them. Check this out, 17-yard touchdown. Look at the emotion, this senior getting everybody pumped up at the Whippet Athletic Complex. That's early on in the first quarter, cutting back against the grain. Whoop! Gets by 3, 4, 5 kids wearing white uniforms. He's in there pretty much untouched on that play. Both 17-yard touchdown runs that started off. And would you believe it, Travis, if I said he was going to do it again?
Mr. Football right there. Dude's got my vote. He is just a stud.
That made it 22-0 off the 42-yard run. Early second quarter, 21-yard dime into the end zone. Brady Bowman on the other end of this one. And the Whippets were absolutely steamrolling early on. Little play action fake. Here's Bowman now out of the backfield. Amazing blocking downfield, and he does the rest. Turns on the turbo boosters into the corner of the end zone, and the route is on. We are in running clock territory. It doesn't start until the third quarter, of course, but the Whippets are able to grow their lead that much, and now DeVito over the middle. Guess who? Bowman again spinning into the end zone. Shelby absolutely rolls tonight. They would go up 49-0 in this game off of this touchdown run right here by Luke Blevins to cap off the scoring for the Whippin. 61-yarder. Had to turn around and make sure for himself nobody was coming. The Wildcats would tack on a meaningless touchdown against the JV reserves. 49-7, Shelby goes berserk, and Mr. DeVito, of course, did that again. How about 6 touchdowns tonight, Travis? You mentioned that he gets your vote for Mr. Ohio football. I mean, this dude is electric, and he does it with the versatility. The legs this year have really come along, and of course, we've always known about his arm and his throwing ability, but when he is hooking up with Brady Bowman like that, like, good luck, man.
Yeah, I was about to say, we got to talk about number 12 as well. DeVito and Bowman were the stat leaders champions in the regular season, the passing and receiving champions, because they made plays like that. How elusive are both of them? We saw DeVito with his runs, but then the receiving touchdowns by Bowman as well. He is just as elusive as Braden DeVito is, and they're just one of the best 1-2 punches in Division IV football right there, and that is why they're heading on to the regional final. The first time, I believe, since, what was it, the year they lost to Van Wert?
I think 2017. Maybe, I don't know. No, you're right. They did the 2020 year. Yeah. They did get there against Van Wert. But what a tradition they have over there at Shelby. And this team, it felt like they were destined, Travis, to get into a regional championship game. Of course, trying to get that bad taste out of their mouth, what happened to them at Arlen Field last year against Ontario. And I would say that is a distant memory now with this team coming out here. The first 2 weeks of the playoffs, and they outscore their opponents 91-7 so far. Certainly the number 1 team in the state. It looks like they are a heavy state title contender right now in Division IV.
Oh, but by far. I mean, they are just rolling. They're taking care of business. They're also taking it one game at a time. They know they're heavily favored in these games, but they're not overlooking their opponent, especially overlooking to possibly a team that they may be playing here locally in the regional final, Brian.
That's right, because at home tonight were the Galion Tigers, and they were at a place in the tournament where they have not been since 1985. That's right, it had been 4 decades since they got this deep in the tournament, and we had Matt Dick on Coach's Corner just a couple of days ago. He said this one's about the boys. Friday nights are about the Tigers. If they would come out and play, they could get it done. Early on, here's Sam Schweinfurth to the end zone. Blake Parker, his big play receiver, can't clutch it. So the Tiger defense gets a stop, and then later on, Zach Shaley would block a Pirates field goal, so it's still scoreless late into the second quarter. Just about a minute and a half before we get to the break, Schweinfurth has all the time and allows Caden Lagondo to get open on the drag. He cuts back between a couple defenders, hurdles another 43-yarder, puts him up 7-zip at the break, but Galion responds midway through the third. Aiden Schmidt into the flats. Caden Hay takes a shot, but he gets in there to tie it up on the 16-yard score. Very next drive, Schmidt juking, jiving his way. I got it in slow-mo for a reason because it's a fumble! Where's it going to go? Body's hitting the deck, and eventually the other Hey Bro, Kurt, heads up play. He recovers in the end zone. 14-7 Tigers. They would tack on a field goal to make it 17-7, but just 24 seconds later, Lagondo makes an awesome catch, trims it to 17-14, final play of the game for the win, and it's picked off.
But was it?
Kane Hay with the interception, and we're rolling it for a reason. Look, he's starting to get tackled. You would think that that's progress at some point there. Nobody blows a whistle at any time. It's pandemonium. There's players on the field for both sides. Most of them aren't even wearing helmets. They thought they had a celebration, so they run it back all over again? That's what the referees decided. Whew, the Tigers avoid absolute disaster. Hay in there involved again. He knocks this one down, so they have to survive not one, but 2 Hail Marys at the end of the game. Travis, you had a very interesting refereed game over at Lucas a couple of weeks ago. I've never seen anything like this. We talked to Kurt Hay after the game. He said one of the referees blew the whistle after he intercepted it in the end zone. The rest of them just standing around watching. You really got to credit Perkins and the Pirates, and I don't remember exactly who it was, but Kurt Hay is running. We don't have it shown there, and eventually a Pirate just comes over and he's like, "Can I have the football?" He's like, "Sure, man, the game's over." Tosses it to him. He runs into the end zone. There's a conference for probably 2 minutes, and up in the press box at Heisey Park, collective sweat just starts dripping. People are watching our replays, and they're like, oh my gosh, he was never down. He gave the football over. Perkins is going to have a walk-off touchdown. And so they said, let's run it back. Very confusing, but ball don't lie, as you like to say all the time, Travis. And the Tigers get it done, and that defense was awesome tonight.
Oh, absolutely. That was just something else to talk about. I was actually part of an inadvertent whistle game, Northmore and Hillsdale in the playoffs a few years ago when Hillsdale went to the regional final. But it's just, you have to withstand all this outside noise, and well, the Galion Tigers were able to. Aiden Schmidt, 222 yards passing. The Hay brothers are picking it up after their fellow receiver, out with the broken leg. 93 yards receiving for Hay. The other Hay, 64 and a touchdown. Capretta with 26, Stuckman with 22. So it seems like Aiden Schmidt, they had the bye they had last week. He's starting to get these other wide receivers into the game. And then Stuckman and Schmidt also, they can run the ball so that despite losing their top receiver, they got the defense, and they have that balance it looks like they got back.
100%. And Aiden Schmidt, he's just a ball player, man. You can tell when he's out there. He's very crafty. He's elusive. He can move it around. And he just seems like one of those type of kids that you really trust. And why wouldn't you? He's won 8 games in a row. The only loss on the season, of course, is to Shelby, who they're going to get a rematch with. And Kane Hay told me after the game, be careful what you wish for, but we did kind of want to see these guys again. We know that they're big and athletic, but they played them very well the first time, Travis. So we don't know the game site quite yet. We've been pitching around a few ideas. We know that it's not going to be Clear Fork, but wherever it's going to be a packed house. And even though Jacob Chambers is not available, who had a huge game against Shelby in the first matchup, they've had enough time, as you mentioned here, with both of the Hay brothers, that they've stepped up. They normally weren't on the field at the same time, and it seems that they're figuring it out here on the fly. And I think this Galion team, they have so much belief in their defense. They think that they're going to get it done no matter what by the end of the night. And I'm very excited for this upcoming matchup because Shelby's just been dominating. But they didn't have to play a team like Perkins that went to the state championship game last year. So I think this is a great benefit for Galion to eke out this victory a little bit tonight
100%.
and just kind of wearing their emotions on their sleeves after the game, man. This was big time over there at Heisey Park tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Just the momentum for them to knock off the defending runners-up in D4. But you got to think it this way. First, for Galion, there's some talk that this game might be at Arlen Field. This is a Galion team, like I said, they look like Ontario last year. What did Ontario do at Arlen Field to Shelby in a regional semifinal? Now, we talked about Shelby. They're playing with a chip on their shoulder because they don't want that happening again. But it may be the same setup, just in a regional final and with a different opponent, but playing just like we saw last year. On the other side of things, for Perkins, it bookends with miscues on the special teams. Week 1, the snap over the head sets up the field goal for Clear Fork to win it. This week, the blocked field goal early on, 3-point difference, both games. Just it stinks for Perkins that special teams cost them a win in week 1 and a chance to go to a regional championship for them.
Yeah, an opportunistic Tigers defense as well. Sam Schweinfurth had only thrown 1 interception all year. He throws 1 tonight, actually 2 if you count the second one that Kane Hay came up with, even though they wiped that out. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around how you just do this and say, let's do it all over again. Somebody needs to contact that officiating crew and let them know you got to make a call on the field. That was not the right call, in my opinion.
No.
It
Players
ended
were
up
on the
working
field
out fine for the Tigers, but the job was done. They had already put it in the book, so they had to sweat it out. But what a matchup we got coming up in week number 14. Galion versus Shelby, round number 2. All right, Travis, in Trojan country tonight, huge game, of course. The Centerburg, another number 1 seed that wanted to look like it, proven in the heart of Ohio tonight, but Colonel Crawford and an Eagles team that has been just on a tear so far here over the second half of the season since that loss against Cary. They've been looking very solid, and I think that they felt like they were a favorite going down on the road tonight, and that's where we had Jonathan Langdon stationed over there at Centerburg. And highly anticipated game. Obviously, the viewership through the roof tonight, Jonathan. Maybe didn't live up to the type of game that we thought it was going to be. So, initial thoughts on why that ended up being the case, and this wasn't one for the ages.
Yeah, exactly. There were reasons for that tonight, and you're going to see them in the highlights as we roll the tape. Colonel Crawford taking on Centerburg, 1 versus 5 matchup. A little bit of a slower first quarter towards the end of it. Peyton Baker speeds things up with the legs, able to go past a couple of defenders he's taken down here, but it would set up that Colonel Crawford offense for a 6-yard touchdown. Peyton Baker back to the feet. He's able to get in for the first score of the game. Moving on, over later on in this one in the second quarter, it was just a rough day in the office for Blaine Ball. 5 sacks for Colonel Crawford on the Trojans. That offensive line crumbled tonight, and that was one of the big factors as Peyton Baker gets set up for his second rushing touchdown. Centerburg, however, towards the end of the half, some life as that punches off of Weifman's face mask, and it's scooped up by Hayden Love. However, the Trojans, with 6 seconds to go in the half, looking for the D1 recruit Jax Ballinger in the corner of the end zone. Can't get it done. It would go to the locker rooms 14-0. Then you got to think Centerburg, they were starting to drive there. They're starting to get something figured out. But then you saw Dom Dean, the tight end, motion for Connor McMichael to just take up some open space. Broken coverage from Centerburg, and this was the shift, ladies and gentlemen, as McMichael gets his first touchdown of the game, makes it 21-0, a lead that Centerburg could not overcome. However, they did their best, and you just got to think, if that broken coverage play doesn't happen, this Blaine Ball play is much bigger than it was as he gets in for the touchdown, makes it 21-6, or 21-7 at that point. But, I mean, the Colonel Crawford Eagles just kept on trucking along, got another touchdown from the McMonster, who had a fantastic second half. Here's another one thanks to his offensive line. I mean, nobody in frame for Centerburg for most of that play, as they're able to break through, make it 35-7, and then just keep on going with that run game. This time they'll give it to Dom Dean, reward him for his heads-up play earlier in the half. But Centerburg, they would not go out quietly. They would put something up on the board. Miles Marshall, his 29th touchdown of the year. I mean, just a great year for the junior. He'll be back next year for the Centerburg squad, but a rough loss at home as they take on Colonel Crawford, lose it 42-13.
Trojans had so much momentum going into this game, Jonathan. I was honestly shocked to see the halftime score and then, of course, how it imploded for them in the third quarter. 9 straight wins heading into this one. How do you make heads or tails about the fact that, I mean, they absolutely just get gashed? 42 points, that's a season high that they gave up, dating all the way back to week 2 when they lost to Johnstown, their only other loss of the season. What gives, man? What happened?
Yeah, I think the talking point all season for me and Peyton Kalpu, as we got to kind of cover this team throughout the year, is that whenever they got that test, how were they going to respond? It's kind of like Ohio State football this year at some sort of level. You've never really seen that team take it to that 3rd or 4th gear. And when Centerburg needed to take it to that 3rd or 4th gear tonight, it just seemed like it stalled out, and Crawford was able to run away with it. It started with the offensive line that we were bragging about all season long. They give up 5 sacks, 4 of them in the first half. Blaine Ball not comfortable in the passing game. They had to rely on the run game way too much in this contest, and that came back to bite them as just a solid job from Payne to Gray. Some other players also able to break in for some sacks. Just a great day. I think Chrisman had 2 sacks actually in that game as well for Colonel Crawford. So just overall great defensive game, and then that defensive lapse, that was the biggest kind of tell that early in the third quarter that Centerburg wasn't going to be able to come back.
I'm watching the highlights there. It just looked like Colonel Crawford was much more physical up front. They're moving that line of scrimmage. The McMonster, he was on the coach's corner on Wednesday, said it was not going to be his last game. Certainly wanted at least an extra week to the season. So in terms of just the physicality, did it feel to you like Colonel Crawford just came out and had kind of an immediate edge in that department, and they were able to expose Centerburg a little bit in that particular phase of the game?
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of figured that Colonel Crawford's defense, I came in raving about them. I knew they were going to put up a really nice performance against Centerburg. That first quarter was really slow. You got towards the end of the first quarter, and there was really still no score until Peyton Baker was able to run in that touchdown. I knew if it was a low-scoring game, I favored Colonel Crawford. and it kind of ended up trending that direction. Just overall, as you said, the physicality great. A lot of big guys over there for Colonel Crawford. Very much like a Mount Gilead, but as I talked about last week in that game, the difference between Mount Gilead and Crawford is Crawford has a passing game. However, they didn't use the passing game this week as Weithman didn't have too much going on, but they didn't really need it because the offensive line was able to win over Centerburg, even though, as I said, we raved about Centerburg's O-line all year.
Yeah, how about 84-21? They outscore the top two teams in the KMAC over the last 2 weeks. Setting up this championship game, let's look at Region 23. On the other side, it was West Jeff taking on Fort Fry, and we know that West Jefferson is moving on. They've got 11 wins now on the season, 34-32. They won a great game on the road in that one. So Colonel Crawford, the number 5 seed, I was looking from top to bottom at pretty much all the different regions in the state, Travis. Very, very few seeds above a number 4 were anticipated being this far, and there was a lot of chalk too. 1, 2, 3, 4 seeds in a lot of these district or regional semifinals. So Colonel Crawford, a bit of an outlier in that regard. Why do you think the Eagles were a team that's been able to kind of spoil some parties?
But were they though, Brian? I mean, they had the one slip up against the Cary Blue Devils with, hey, Cary, baby, congrats on your win tonight. But before the season, we were looking and saying, who are some teams that we could see making long runs? Hillsdale, yes. Shelby, yes. You thought maybe Danville would get a couple wins. Look at them. But also we said, you know what favorite in Region 23? The Colonel Crawford Eagles. We saw they've been taking care of business. It was just Mount Gilead started getting those wins. We took our eyes off of Crawford a little bit. Centerburg had their big run and their big win over Mount Gilead. We're like, okay, look at those two teams. But it's always been Colonel Crawford. Right from the start, they have pretty much everybody back from that tough loss to Grandview Heights in the playoffs last year. And we're thinking, yeah, maybe they're a team that can make the run. Some other teams got into the conversation, but it's always been Colonel Crawford, Brian. And now they have a chance of getting that regional championship that they thought they could win last year.
Yeah, they're on an absolute tear right now and plenty of momentum. Of course, West Jeff, too, that they've been playing some great football, and they've beat a lot of good teams. So actually, maybe a little bit undervalued, too, West Jefferson going into this regional tournament as well. But certainly cool to see a couple of the lower seeds get an opportunity to compete here, Jonathan. So go ahead and throw a quick bow on Centerburg's season. You've seen a ton of them so far this year, the KMAC champions, and a lot of talent, a lot of D1 coaches of the college ranks have been looking at this team. What do you think the 2025 version of the Trojans is going to be remembered for most?
Absolutely. This is the first team ever to go back-to-back seasons with a playoff win, so congratulations to this squad. Just making history as they went on with the season. This is my 7th game covering Centerburg. I loved every single game. It was great to cover them, and then I'm just excited to see what version of this team we get next year, because obviously you lose the KMAC Player of the Year, Blaine Ball, a senior who's about to graduate, but you bring back Miles Marshall, who is probably the KMAC Player of the Year. You can make the argument for sure. You also bring back Jax Ballinger, who is more of a blocking tight end this year. I expect him to develop a lot in the receiving game now that Hayden Love moves on as well from the Centerburg squad. But there are a lot of key sophomores and juniors that I am excited to see develop when I get to go back to the heart of Ohio next year.
And there's one more KMAC team that's still playing in the tournament. Got a lot of youngsters we're going to talk about here in a minute, Jonathan, so hang tight with us here for a couple of more minutes. But let's talk about another bird of prey tonight, Travis, that definitely they wanted to showcase that they were worthy of making it to a regional championship. That, of course, being the Hillsdale Falcons, and a team that we've been saying all season long, basically since December 3rd of last year, they were on a mission.
Yes, they were, sir, and you're seeing in the scoreboard over here, that team that they want to face did win tonight in Marion Local, the team that, I mean, they embarrassed Hillsdale at Canton, but Hillsdale bringing everybody back. We said Hillsdale, maybe they were a year early, but we're showing why they thought they were a little year early, because they have been rolling. First quarter, Sims Valley, they're driving, but they go for the fake punt on 4th down, and quarterback Bronx Carpenter can't get the pass to fall. The very next play, you saw it as the call of the night. Owen Sloan, 59 yards, juking and jiving, getting the block from his receiver down field, and he will score. It is 7-0. Later in the first, Sloan again, 2-yard run. He had an 18-yard run to set that up, makes it 14-0. In the second quarter now, guess who? It's Owen Sloan. Once again, O-line was phenomenal in this one, opening up just paths that you could drive a truck through. 20-0 there, and then, hey, Brock Bauer, he's going to get in on the jet sweep, cuts it back in, makes it 27-0. And then let's just move to the third quarter because Sloan, just bounces off of people, cuts outside. That is his 5th touchdown of the game. 5th touchdown, 41-0. They went at 48-7, running away, and another running clock at the half. They got up 34-0 at the half. Clock just ran the rest of the way, just like last week against Canton Valley. And here's Owen Sloan's final stat line for the night for you, Mr. Skoronsky.
Yes,
12 carries, 211 yards,
Love it.
5 touchdowns.
Woo.
In the first half alone, 10 carries, 164 and 4. For the season now, he's at 1,651 rushing yards and 26 rushing touchdowns. I read an article earlier this week about his stats after that Marion local loss. He's almost to his rushing mark going into the regional championship.
This team has all these record setters right now, Travis, and obviously the big piece that they have is at the quarterback position. Obviously,
Yes.
Owen Sloan's a dog. He's going to do
yeah.
his thing. But Kel Lewis just seems to have like that kind of cool hand Luke control over the offense. What did he end up doing for the team tonight, and what did you value from him? Obviously, he didn't have to do a lot in terms of putting up big numbers in the 48-7 win, but what would the junior bring to the table?
The junior didn't have to bring much to the table tonight because he only threw, I believe, for like 60. He threw for 69 yards, but that's all they needed because Owen Sloan was running wild amongst Sims Valley. Sims Valley twice. Their first 2 possessions into Hillsdale territory, they went for it both times on 4th down, were unable to get it, and Hillsdale with the short field went up 14-0 early on, and then that was just it. It was just another ho-hum victory for the Falcons this year, just running wild on teams. Last week they beat a Canton Valley team that put up 78 the week before.
Yeah.
Sims Valley had 7 games where they scored over 40 points this season, and they just steamrolled them. This is a Hillsdale Falcons team that is just laser focused on the team in front of them because they want to get back to Canton. I was saying to Ken Parrott on the broadcast tonight, I said, you know what, there's probably only a small amount of people that actually wants to face Marion Local in this championship game. Other people want Marion Local to lose before, but it's this Hillsdale Falcons squad and coaching staff. They want another chance at them because they believe that they could probably do it.
I think they're probably the only team
Yes,
that feels
they're
like
the only
they would
players,
want a
the
shot
only
at
people in the
Marion
world.
Local in the tournament. But I've heard a lot of people saying, and I think the shows have kind of showcased throughout the course of the season, that Marion Local's pretty young this year, and I don't know necessarily that they're beatable, but they seem like they're gettable. You can be in the game late, so Hillsdale a couple steps away from getting their wish, if that's really what their command is going to be, Travis. But they have one more test, of course, standing in their way that we're going to talk about coming up here in just a couple of minutes. We've got a special guest who's going to be calling in on the hotline. So even though Week 13, it's cooking right now, and we love all this regional semifinal action. I want to look back real quick, Travis, to good old week number 12.
Yes, sir.
Because the quarterfinals, they produce some phenomenal performances, and of course, some outrageous plays of the week. And we had you, the fans of North Central Ohio and beyond, vote for the top play from week number 12. And after we calculated all of the votes, and this was one of the biggest ones that we've had all season long, it's going to go to Cooper Cleary. Here he is, bursting through a couple of would-be tacklers. Oh, how about 1, 2, 3 more ping pong? Nope. He's off to the races to the outside, switching hands. Number 4's got one more shot. And he's like, nah, I just give up. 79 yards to the crib out there in the marsh as Monroeville continued their postseason journey into week 13. Here's how it all shook out just in terms of the vote. We like to be transparent with you guys out there. And pretty good percentage here, 30.5%. Pretty good competition, though, all the way across the board. Looked like Aiden Hoffman took second place this week, and a couple other top contenders, I should say. But Cooper Cleary clearly was the number 1 choice for you, the fans. So that's your top plays. But what about the phenom of the week? from the regional quarterfinals. Your Week 12 winner is, how about Cooper Cleary, baby?
Well deserving.
That's
so
right.
Deserves it.
It's a double feature. I feel like we kind of all just oohed and awed over this run right here, but it just doesn't get old, and he would do this not once, but 2 more times, getting into the end zone, a 3-pack of touchdowns, a crazy amount of rushing yards as well, 224 of them, and also getting it done on the defensive end with an INT as well. So Cooper Cleary is your phenom and your top play winner from week number 12. And this one, a little bit more separation, Travis. You see that he was the clear winner. Number 1, getting almost 36% of the vote.
Clearly ahead of, let's see, Cale Lewis right there, and Miles Marshall. No, actually, Cy Wallace. So, hey, two players going against each other next week, but they were 2nd and 3rd. And then you got, the number 4 vote? You have Miles Marshall. So, ahead of the K-Mac and the WCAL. But, hey, Cleary, he was our leading rusher last week. Of all of our teams that played, he was beyond the leading rusher there for the Monroeville Eagles. Congratulations to him winning the double dip as well. Congratulations, sir.
All right, and you just brought up the WCAL a second ago, Travis. We're going to move up this game just one place here in the countdown because Downton, a Bulldogs team that they know what it's like to play Marion local in a state championship game. That was just a couple of years ago. They were at home tonight against Garaway, and the Dogs, this was one of those rare situations. How about a number 6 seed playing at home tonight, Trav?
Yeah, and let's just get right into it as Matthew Frey in from 3 yards out after on their opening drive. Made it 6-0, and then after stuffing the Downton offense, they keep their foot on the gas. A 93-yard touchdown. This is Micah Yoder. Look at the speed down the sideline. He is gone. 2-point conversion, though, no good. It is 12-0. Garaway. Couple penalties. The Bulldogs got very generous field positioning on their next drive, and they're able to take advantage. 3-yard run from Connor Morey, making it 12-7 at the end of 1. Look at that. Right back at you come the Bulldogs. Despite great defense, both teams throughout the second, Garaway able to find the end zone one more time before the half. Frey from 2 yards out. It's 18-7 at the break. Downton with possession in the second half, but struggled to get anything going. Defense stalls them out there, and then Garaway able to add on 18-9. Carter Hignite, that's a name we know from Downton. He gets it right back at you to make it 18-16, but the Pirates will get the last laugh to pull away. Grady Miller hitting Jackson Gerber from 22 yards out, wide open, 25-16, and that is what Garaway was able to do to move on to the regional championship once again between 2 powerhouses. Garaway, a little bit, they're kind of like Marion local, a little bit down this year, but they're still Garaway, and they were able to move up the Downton country and win it 25-16 despite a very valiant comeback by Downton.
Yeah, the Bulldogs, they're always going to be a tough test when you get them into the tournament, but you're talking about Garaway, and they've only got 2 losses this season, Travis, and that's the Indian Valley and Girard, and what do they have in common? Neither of them have lost so far, and they're each going to be playing for regional championships coming up here this next Friday night, so the really tough test there for the Bulldogs at home, and they gave it a valiant effort. We'll show you what lies ahead now here in region number 21, and you already know who's going to win up there up top. Smithville, we were kind of not really joking, but half talking about the fact that they actually gave the Hornets a pretty good game, 35-7, not bad against that team.
They were actually a state-ranked team this year. I saw them against Hillsdale. I mean, Hillsdale's beyond the better teams in the WCL, them and Norwayne, but Smithville, they put up a fight, and congratulations to them for a fine season, finishing right there, I believe, in the top 3 in the WCAL, but it's Kirtland and Garaway. It's the 2 teams that always seem to meet in this regional, and they're going to go at it once again. Saw Kirtland last year knock off Northmore in a regional in the Final Four, and then lose to Coldwater in the championship game. But they have players back, and like you said, Garaway, their only 2 losses, undefeated teams. So this is going to be another powerhouse showdown on Friday night for a regional championship.
Yeah, Kirtland's only given up like 24 points, I think, over about the last 10 weeks, though. So this is a team that they are certainly on the rise. But every single year, as you mentioned, it seems like they're in this position. And Garaway seems to be a team that they have to get through to try to move on to the next round. So that should be a pretty good showcase coming up next week in the regional championship. Another team looking to get back to a regional final that was in the state final 4 a season ago, the Big Walnut Golden Eagles. They have not lost since week number 1. So you want to talk about a team that is just clicking on all cylinders right now, heading into their regional semifinal showdown. And Bryce Coder was there for tonight's showcase against Canal Winchester, my friends. And boy, Fly Eagles Fly seems to be like that's a common theme here on the Friday Night Pigskin, and I think we get more of the same here this week.
Yeah, it seems like every single time I think we're going to have a competitive contest, Big Walnut seems to prove me wrong with a blowout victory. They haven't been scored on since week 9. Tonight, no difference with a 35-0 victory. Taking no time at all, a quick 3-and-out on the first drive of the game, but Eli stumped to Nolan Burley on the very first play of their offensive drive. 60 yards for a touchdown, and they were already ahead. Still on the first quarter, and punching it in is Nolan Burley after an Owen Pollock 26-yard reception from Eli Stump that was downed at the 1. Then another one. We're still in the first quarter, 4:55 remaining. Nolan Burley with the 8-yard rushing touchdown, handing it off once again, this time for 56 yards. And this will prove his 30th touchdown of the season total with the receiving touchdown earlier on in the first quarter. But still not done. A pitch to Nolan Burley, and he will secure his 30th rushing touchdown of the season. Not only that, crossing 2,000 rushing yards on the season here in Week 13. Big Walnut wins 35-0 over Canal Winchester, and they're moving on to the regional final.
Bryce, we knew this team was going to be really good. That's, of course, why we stacked the deck with our coverage this year. You've been at every single Big Walnut game. And if you take away the 37 points that they allowed on opening night, I think they've only given up 26 the rest of the year. So the highlights are amazing on offense. I brought this up last week, though. Man, they haven't been scored on in a month, Bryce. This is a crazy defensive team right now that's coming together at the right time.
Between the last 2 games against Walnut Ridge and now against Canal Winchester, this defense has 8 total turnovers that they've created. Interceptions. There are 2 fumbles tonight that they were able to jump on top of. A couple of them were kind of unforced errors, but they are just so good at what they do.
And then, of course, Nolan Burley, man. That guy, he just seems like every time he touches the ball, if you're a defensive coordinator, you're holding your breath. You're just hoping that you made a right play call. That guy's unbelievable. 30 touchdowns now, and no matter where he's at on the field, he can run through the middle, take it to the outside. I mean, Bryce, I feel like he gives you a chance on offense, regardless of what else is working around you. The Nolan Burley show, that is a performance that I'm always willing to buy tickets for.
Definitely. I mean, he is so strong, so fast, just an all-around fantastic player. And, you know, it seems like situations where they get a 15-yard penalty, their setback, or a call doesn't go their way, that only seems to invigorate them, and it goes against the opponent that they're playing because he'll come up with a 70-yard touchdown run just seemingly out of nowhere. And tonight, I mean, not as much success as we're used to seeing, only 9 yards per carry, is averaging 10.5 for the season. But I mean, the defensive line, they were quick off the edge. Credit to Canal Winchester. They were able to force, I think, 4 sacks on the night, and they stopped Nolan Burley a number of times. But still, on his off nights, he's getting over 200 rushing yards on the night.
Yeah, pretty crazy, man. So, of course, they are moving on. This is what is left. We were all kind of anticipating the rematch, Bryce, with Maslin, of course, taking care of business against the Sales on the road. So, initial thoughts, knowing that we're going to get this head-to-head. We're hoping at Arlen Field, again, a great venue for that. Just what are you expecting when these two teams get together again this year?
Oh, it should be a good one. And looking at the scores coming into it, I mean, Maslin, Washington just absolutely decimated St. Francis de Sales. And I thought, you know, if that game is close, then Big Walnut has a pretty good chance of, you know, just blowing it out. But, I mean, seeing the offense of Maslin, Washington, it's very, very convincing. So I think we're going to see a slugfest.
It just has a different feel to me, though, this year, Bryce. Even though it's kind of deja vu in Big Walnut last year, they lose on opening nights at Watterson. They run off all the wins and then get to a state Final Four. They felt like a big underdog, I think, to pretty much the entire state when they went head-to-head with Massillon. I don't really get that vibe this year from this team because they brought just about everybody back. So would you anticipate the Big Walnut is going to go in feeling like they're a favorite in this one, or is it still the big bad Tigers who won it a couple of years ago and you feel like maybe they're still the team to beat?
I certainly think that Big Walnut feels like they're the favorite and they're the better team coming into this one. And I honestly think that Massillon Washington coming into it might feel like they're a little bit of the underdogs with just how strong Big Walnut has been all season long. So a bit of a role reversal, perhaps. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, I can imagine Massillon's been an underdog in very many games against Ohio teams at all. Bryce, you're never an underdog, my friend. Appreciate you all season long here on the Pigskin, man, and have fun with that call coming up here next Friday.
Thanks so much. Have a good one.
My pleasure, man. All right, we've kind of saved the best for last here, I think, Travis, because there was a long bus ride for a team that all they've done is take long bus rides for about the last 3 weeks.
They love it. It's
How
team
about
building.
a number 11 seed in the tournament in D7, Region 27? But guess what? Wheels are still a turning. That's right, the bus for the Danville Blue Devils and their head coach, Matt Bloom, back at home down on Tough Street. Coach, congratulations on another big-time win, my friend. Hey, you finally got a test in the tournament as a double-digit seed. Talk me through kind of the fourth quarter of tonight's game and pulling this one off.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. Just a phenomenal win for our team and our program, and big shout-out to our community, our students, all of our fans that traveled down to support us 2 hours away, and hopefully we get a closer neutral site game this week so we can get even more fans there.
Yeah, you outscored your opponents 113-8 the last couple of weeks. There's Jonathan.
There we go.
He's got the helmet. You get a little bit of a test, though, tonight, Coach. 19-14. You kind of got to pull one out there at the end of this game. So just kind of walk me through what it was like for you guys getting a test finally for the first time here, not a running clock going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, we knew going into the game Waterford would be a challenge. They had a lot of good weapons, and, we knew we had to play well to be able to win that football game. And our lucky to be able to go on to week 14.
I think we might have lost Coach out there on Tough Street. So they've got all the nice upgrades, of course. They got the turf and the nice new lights and everything. Maybe they didn't splurge on the Wi-Fi down there. We'll see if we can get them back. But Jonathan, since you're hanging out, and this has kind of been your adoptive team, of course, this year, you're the new face of the KMAC at the OH Report. You kind of anticipated that they would make a run to a regional final. So how's it feel to be right, my friend?
I'm not standing down from that. I just feel like, honestly, the last couple of years, if you know football, if you know low division football, you know that Danville is going to make a run no matter where they are. And I think it's evident the last couple of weeks, of course, in a region that's a little bit rougher. But, I mean, Danville doing a great job, a big win against Waterford, and a big win at that, a long road trip as well. So I'm glad that they made it back safe, and they'll be locked in, ready to go at another crack at Hillsdale next week.
So after a big win like that, Coach, the long bus ride, a couple of hours for you guys to get back home, describe the mood and the vibe to me for this team because, I mean, it's a pretty young team, man. You got a lot of youngsters out there making some big plays.
Yeah, those young kids are starting to grow up. Freshman quarterback tonight played really well. Kept control of the ball, didn't have any turnovers. And, have sophomore running back, freshman receiver, juniors all across the board. So, yeah, kids are finally starting to succeed in the places we have them in. And, we get one more chance at Hillsdale, and we're going to give everything we have.
Let's dive a little bit deeper into that because, of course, last year an awesome state Final Four game that came down to the wire. You guys were out in front for a while in that one, and I got to imagine that seeing that they were the number one seed and you would have a chance the way the brackets lined up to get another shot at them. Has that been a conversation piece before you guys even went into the tournament that you kind of wanted another shot at the Kings here of this region?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is, you want to focus on the opponent you have at hand. So, we've been taking it 1 week at a time. But, our biggest thing, the offseason motto is finish the mission because, we were 3 4th-and-1s away from potentially winning that game and going to a state final last year. So, the best thing about our situation is redemption is very rare. And then we're going to have that opportunity next week against a very, very, very good Hillsdale team. And we'll give it everything we have and see what we can do.
So you talked about the fact that your young players, they're growing up. You're going to get a chance to take on Hillsdale here. Of course, the regular season wasn't probably quite what you were anticipating that you would want to get out of it. A 5-5 season. What type of lessons do you feel like your guys really took from that they've been able to apply these last 3 weeks, where you've been one of the biggest surprises, I think, around the state of Ohio? One big talking point, of course, is an 11 seed getting there. You might be the lowest seed that's still available, Coach. How did your guys grow up in a hurry going into the postseason?
Yeah, I mean, I gave this message tonight to our juniors and seniors on the bus. I'm just so proud of how resilient this group has been. After our, week 5 home loss against Northmore, we got beat pretty badly, and we weren't doing a lot of things right. So, our kids really rallied together instead of throwing in the towel. And, they've grown up and matured a lot. And, they never turned on each other, never turned on us coaches. We all came together and have been building towards this. So just really proud of the way that they've been able to come together and start playing some quality football. And hopefully we can keep it going for a couple weeks here.
Hey, Coach, again, congratulations on going all around the state the last 2 weeks. Also, ignore the shirt. Usually by this time of the year, I can wear these shirts because we don't have teams playing anybody. So next week,
let's go.
Next week, I'm going to be wearing all blue. I'm just going to be wearing a blue OH Report shirt because we have 2 teams playing for a regional championship. I cannot wait to call this game between 2 teams, that are used to being here. But let's talk about your defense, Coach, because that was a big key tonight. You forced 6 turnovers, including the game icing, interception. They had a bad snap over the head on a punt that gave you the touchdown to go up 2 scores. Just talk about how clutch your defense has been throughout the postseason, but especially tonight.
Yeah, I'm really proud of our defense. We've came a long way this year. And we're starting to finally play at our standard, both on offense and defense, specifically defense. A couple of those K-Mac games, we got roughed up, especially in the trenches. And now our kids are growing up, maturing, finally starting to make some plays, do things right. So really proud of them for developing the way they have.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward. You got 2 running backs. You got Cy Wallace yourself going up against, Owen Sloan. You got Proper against Cale Lewis. You got wide receivers going against wide receivers. Just what do you believe now that, you're past this week? I don't know if you've looked at any film against Hillsdale, but what do you believe is going to be the biggest matchup coming into next week?
They're just going to come in icy cold.
I haven't seen too much film. The big thing that we have to be able to do is sustain drives.
Yeah, that's something that not many people have been able to do.
We have to be able to, sustain drives. Be able to not give up any big plays, any explosions, and play. I think that's. Yeah, for sure.
All right. It sounds like Coach Bloom is out of data, but he is not out of days of practice. Looking forward to seeing you next week, Coach. Congratulations on making it again to the regional championship. That's all that man has done since he's taken over as the head coach there. Yeah, hire a 22-year-old fresh out of college, and so far he's been one of the best hires that we've seen here in the area in quite some time. Speaking of great hires, the OH Report, we landed a big fish, of course, this year. And this man, not only is he great on the mic, not only does he have a she shed, Travis, but he also he's got, it looks like a new place that he can camp out in every single week when he calls into the show. That is Chris Bliley, fresh off of his trip home and maybe in front of a portable oven tonight. We got some sandwiches baking. What's going on?
Look off to the left though, Brian. He has some beverages back there.
Oh yeah.
Other way. There you go. There you go.
Right there. That is the bourbon cabin.
Oof.
Ooh.
I got, after seeing BC's top shelf 2 weeks ago, I figured I'd get the bourbon cabin from the She Shed in the picture here tonight.
Well done, my friend. So Monroeville, obviously, ton of momentum heading into this Week 13 showdown, but against the number 1 seeded Blue Devils of McDonald. Chris, let's run these highlights for you. Break it down for us how it all unfolded tonight.
Yeah, so McDonald takes the field here. Monroeville taking the field. We kind of thought it was going to be a fantastic game, and here getting the scoring going, Preston Van Meter with a 2-yard touchdown run. And the highlight of the game for, I think, all the fans there, take a look here right above our Myers Rental touchdown there, the fireworks from the tailgate party across the street, every touchdown. Colton Clark would tie the game up when he would go in from 1 yard out. 2 possessions, both teams would score. Basically took up the entire first quarter. Here, first play of the second quarter, Preston Van Meter would go 73 yards, breaks a couple tackles for the touchdown. And, that was John Crumpack. He would end up being our Underground Utilities MVP as he would score twice on the night. You can see a few booms going off there. And then it was the man. He won the discus championship in Division 4 for McDonald, and he would go in from 32 yards out. That's Drew Zajac, and they tied the Huron Tigers for the team state title in track and field last year. Here, their quarterback, he is a 4-year starter, and he would find Brady Schobel for 23 yards out, and that would take the lead all the way out to 27-7. And Caden's looking for those fireworks every time they score. We're trying to check them out. Monroeville would add a touchdown here on a pass. Colton Clark, 16 yards to Colt Cook. The snap was bobbled, and it would end up 27-13 at half. Here's the first play of the fourth quarter, and this is another Crumpack touchdown catch. This one from 24 yards out. The PAT was good, and at this point, now with just 11 minutes to go, it was 34-13 Blue Devils, and they would round out the scoring here when Josh Puckett would find Jordan Perry on a 19-yard TD, and that would bring us to our final score of 40-13 in favor of the McDonald Blue Devils. And they are going to get Mogador next week, and I suspect that game will be a slugfest as they had I thought Monroeville had a lot of offensive weapons, but McDonald had a half dozen guys who could beat you.
They're undefeated for a reason, the number 1 seed for a reason, of course, and playing at home tonight. So before we put a bow on the year for the Eagles, Mogador, one of those traditional powerhouse teams for small school football, and McDonald too. They've had some pretty good runs here of late, Chris. So with a 4-year starter at quarterback, the collection of weapons, a guy with a great flow out of the back that also can throw a discus a million miles, do you feel like this is a team that looks like kind of a state Final Four, state championship type of contender to you?
Yeah, I really do. I was really impressed with the way they played. They're big up front. It's hard to be big and physical as Monroeville is, and they match their physicality up front. But Zajac, who, like I said, he has 11 touchdowns, 1,000 yards. He only carried it 7 or 8 times tonight. They ran for 200 yards in the first half on Monroeville. The She Said squatter, all right. We should also try to get Scone again. I don't know if you have a picture of Scone, but when I got into the booth today, McKenna Sweeting, who would be Cooper Cleary's sister, she had sent up scones to the booth, so we were able to eat up there in the booth. But obviously it didn't work with Cooper today. He was held in check, didn't get the ball a lot, but I was thoroughly impressed with McDonald, and they'd be my favorite to come out of Division 7 Region 25.
Yeah, but maybe the scones, too many scones the last couple of weeks, Chris. Is that a possibility for the Eagles? They were weighed down just a little bit because they've been flying high. Now all of a sudden you get this great Baker and McKenna coming into the picture. There's scones here, scones there, scones everywhere. Perhaps was that a big factor?
Well, I did when I had posted last week on Cooper's MVP highlight. I had spelled it sconces, and I didn't know. I thought a sconce was a scone. So I didn't know that it was a lighting fixture that you hang on your wall. Instead, it's something you eat. So I had suggested to McKenna that she make a bacon egg quiche for today, but she went with the scone either way. And I doubt that was the difference because McDonald was just that good. But I did appreciate the fact that we got scone trending on Twitter.
Yeah, we can't put that on McKenna's shoulders, okay?
No,
Any great baker,
absolutely.
if they're going to bring something to the party, I mean, probably should have been a quiche this week, but hey, scones, they always play well, I think, in any room. But for the Eagles, obviously, the great run for them. I think they had 8 straight wins, undefeated in the Firelands Conference. Chris, you've seen them a bunch so far this season. So as they end their year here in week number 13, give me what you're going to remember most about this Eagle squad.
I think what I'll probably remember most isn't just about this Eagles squad. It's about fall sports at Monroeville this year. The Lady Eagles advanced to the state finals and lose to powerhouse Tiffin Calvert, and then the football team here under Coach Tyler Nestor trying to get back to the Elite Eight. The last time they were there was 2004. They came up a game short, but they graduate a ton of talent, a ton of seniors, but you bring back Colton Clark and Cooper Cleary on both offense and defense. So that's a pretty good foundation to start at for next year. Again, hats off to the Monroeville community. Hats off. I think somebody commented on our Facebook page. Thank you to all the sponsors. We had some phenomenal sponsors with Monroeville allowing us to bring all these games to everybody live and free. And it's just something special in that community. It's something about the Monroeville community where they get behind their student athletes, and we were able to follow them along for the ride, and it was fun and exciting.
Yeah, the beautiful thing, what we got going on right now with Monroeville. So, again, we salute the sponsors. We salute you, Chris, making those long journeys 2 out of these last 3 weeks, man. So, hopefully you got your frequent flyer miles card all booked up, and we'll have maybe some vacation here in the future for you, man.
Yeah, I would like that. I've made 3 trips to Elida and 3 trips past the Lordstown automobile plant in the last 2 weeks. So,
yeah.
I've put a little miles on my car, but I really feel like I know Western Ohio and Eastern Ohio now. I can recommend food places to anybody out there wondering. And so if you need a tip on where to eat in the Lordstown area or in the Elida area, just give me a shout and I'll let you know.
Your friendly neighborhood, not just commentator, but pretty much just overall do it everything, man, Chris. I think you've earned yourself a trip over there to the bourbon cabinet, my friend.
I'm heading there next. I've got the ice cube and the glass already picked out.
Fantastic. All right, Chris Bliley, everybody. Always a showman when he comes on. Hey, Travis, I think, is that everything?
Well, Can we look forward to next week? We know our matchups. We have 7 teams.
Okay.
7. 2 of them matching up against each other. So let's play a little geographics. Where are these games you think going to go down?
All right.
Well, first, let's look at Big Walnut, Massillon, Washington.
Gotta be Arlen.
Got to be Arlen, right?
Got to.
But you got Shelby Galion. Is that going to be Community Stadium in Ashland? Is that going to be Madison, Star Tech Field? Maybe something like that. Got to think that way. Colonel Crawford, West Jefferson. Thinking maybe Marion. That's a good midway point right there. Maybe something, I don't know. Maybe Jonathan Langdon be on the call of that one for the Eagles since he's been on that. You got Cary, Hopewell, Loudon. That's got to be either Findlay or Tiffin because that's the midway point on each side.
Yeah, they're like side by side.
Yeah,
pretty
they're
much.
like they played. Now this is something they played in week 1, and Hopewell Loudon ran away with it against Cary. But Cary was on that 3-game losing streak before they really woke up. This has got to be a completely different game than week 1, right?
Yeah, and Tiffin's got it. Frosttown now is going to be the place for that. I'm telling you right now.
Has to be. And then you got Hillsdale, Danville. I'm hearing some inklings that maybe
rumors.
Highland. Clear Fork's not available, I heard. So maybe the Highland Fighting Scots. That's a great stadium they have down there. That'd be perfect.
You know what? How about the rematch at the place where it was last year? Shelby.
Well, Shelby's playing, though. Who's going to
but
work
they're
at
gonna be
Shelby?
on the road.
Yeah, but they're on the road. But everybody who wants to work when they want to go see their team. You know? I don't know if anybody wants to work a game when their team's playing for a regional championship right down the road.
So true.
So true. But so we have, a lot of doable games for us. We have 5, and we're assured of a Final Four as well. We're going to be working after Thanksgiving, Brian, because Hillsdale or Danville are going. Shelby or Galion are going for sure. And I have a feeling one or two more teams will be playing on the day after Thanksgiving.
And that's what everybody is always striving to do for a coaching staff and a team. What do they always tell us, Travis? We want to be practicing during Thanksgiving week. And we here at the Owitz Report, we want to be working during Thanksgiving week. But it's been a long day today, Travis, a long season, but it's been a very rewarding season.
Absolutely.
Probably our best Pigskin ever. So we salute you, the fans, for staying up late with us Friday after Friday, into the hours of Saturday. But that's it, guys. 13 weeks in the books. It goes fast, but we are not done. We will have the Friday night coverage for you guys next week, as Travis just detailed. And so where in the world are we going to be? You'll find out on our pages. We'll put that out coming up here probably on Monday or Tuesday.
Hold on.
We'll make
Is
sure
that Joe Baylog? Do I see Joe Baylog coming in?
Uh-oh. That's right.
I
As
mean,
soon as Mariah Carey starts hitting the shelves.
Right? Like,
That's when it's time for a Baylog appearance. All right, guys. For the final time here, 2025 Pigskin, we say so long.